Welcome to Math with Mrs. Seeley. Let's get started with some ACT prep and build your math score one problem at a time. In question 11, it says an object is launched vertically at 30 meters per second from a 55-meter tall platform. The height, h of t meters, of the object t seconds after launch is modeled by that function. What will be the height in meters of the object 3 seconds after launch? Where we're told that t is the seconds and it's 3 seconds. So therefore, that means that your t is 3. And you're simply going to take 3 for t and plug it back into that original problem where the t is. Just go to your calculator and say negative 4.9 and put some parentheses, quantity squared, and that's especially important if that were a negative, plus 30 times 3 plus 55, quick calculator, and you get answer B. Number 12, the whole numbers 1 through 30 were each written on separate pieces of paper. Those 30 pieces of paper were put into a jar. One piece of paper will be randomly drawn from the jar. What is the probability that this piece of paper will have a prime number on it? So probability, if you'll recall, it's a fraction, it's a ratio. On the top, it's the ways to get what you want. In this case, what we want is a prime number. And on the bottom of that fraction, it's the total ways. And in our case, that's 30 because there's 30 total pieces of paper. So when you think about a prime number, if you'll recall, that is a number that only 1 and itself go into. So if I go from the numbers 1 through 30, now here's the definition. 1 is actually not prime. And a lot of people sometimes get confused about that or they forget that. So let's go through our prime numbers. 2 is prime because only 1 and 2 go into it. 3 is prime because only 1 and 3. 5 is our next prime number. 7, so you're looking for numbers that nothing else goes into. Like 8's not prime because, 4 and 2 go into it. 9's not prime because 3 goes into it. But 11 is prime. 13 is prime. 17 is the next one, not 18, but yes, 19. Not 20, not 21, not 22, but yes, 23. Not 24, not 25, 26, 27, 28, but yes, 29. So these are my prime numbers. If I were to count these up, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 ways to get what I want over the total of 30 ways. They didn't reduce that fraction. Sometimes they do, but they didn't this time. The answer is J. Good news though. If you forgot that 1 is not prime, you would have probably said 11 over 30. And I feel like you would have still guessed that because it was the closest to what you had. But again, 1 is not prime. All right, number 13. For an angle with measure alpha in a right triangle, they give us the sine, they give us the tangent, and they want the cosine. Well, if you'll recall, this goes back to your SOHCAHTOA. So sa, ka, toa, where sine, remember, is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse, and tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. I think the quickest way to work this problem is, let's go back to the problem. The sine is the opposite over the hypotenuse. The tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. They want the cosine, which is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So the adjacent is going to be the 12, and the hypotenuse is going to be the 13. So therefore, my answer is the 12 over the 13, and that's answer A. That's a really common question, actually. Number 14, which of the following values, if any, is the y value of this systems of equations? So what we need to do is we need to eliminate. So we need to knock out the x's since we want y to be left. So if that's a negative 4 right there, we need to make the top be a positive 4. And we can do that if we multiply by 2. This is the elimination method. 2 times 2 is 4. So let's distribute. So 2x times 2 is 4x. minus, you're just distributing 2 times negative y, and 2 times 7, which is 14. This one right here, you're just going to bring it straight across, so bring it just like it is. And sure enough, the x is canceled, but the y is actually canceled too. So we have nothing left over there, and we have 16 over here. Well, that's not true. That's a false statement. And when you get a false statement, that means there is no solution. So therefore, there's no such value for y. Number 15. Which of the following expressions is equivalent to y plus 7 to the third power? All right, so this right here means we have triplets. We have 3 of them. So we got to say y plus 7, y plus 7, and y plus 7. All right, let's take them 2 at a time. Let's take the first 2 and multiply those together. That's using your FOIL or your distributive property. So you're going to say y to y, which is y squared. You're going to say y to 7, which is 7y. You're going to again say y to 7, which is 7y. And then you're going to say 7 to 7, which is 49. All right, let's collect those terms. So that's y squared plus 14y plus 49. All right, now bring down your y plus 7. And we're going to need to distribute again. So y squared is going to go to each of those people, and that'll be y squared times y, which is y to the third, plus y squared times 7 is 7y squared. All right, now we need to take the 14y, and we need to make the 14y go through to everybody. So 14y to everybody, and that's going to give me 14y times y, which is 14y squared. Now, let's just stop for a second because we actually have enough information to get our answer. We know that y to the third is first, which they all have that. But then when we put these terms together, 7 of them plus 14 of them is going to be 21 of the y squareds. So it would have to be answer A. And so if you are able to kind of check your answers and see which one it is, you want to do that and then stop and move quickly on to the next problem. All right, number 16. It says the sum of 3 positive integers is 180. Remember, sum means to add things together. It tells us the ratio is 5 to 3 to 2. So what you're going to do in a situation like this, it's 5 some number plus 3 some number plus 2 some number equals 180. And so you just solve that equation. And so that says 10x is equal to 180 divided by 10, and x is 18. Now, it wants the smallest number. So of these numbers right here, the one that's 2 times it is going to be the smallest. So you simply say 2 times x, or 2 times 18, and 36 is going to be your smallest number. All right, number 17. It says, which of the following expressions is equivalent to this minus this? When you subtract, make sure, and I always put a warning flag there, that you subtract all of it. You have to minus everything in that parentheses. So let's just find our like terms. So you have a 1x squared minus 6x squareds, which is negative 5 on your x squareds. So therefore, we know it's not C or D. Remember, on the ACT, you're trying to find the right answer, but sometimes you can just get rid of all the wrong answers, and that still will get you to the right answer. All right, the next one, we have no xy terms here, but we have 4 here. However, that's a minus in front of that. So that's minus 4xy. So it would have to be answer A. Number 18. Given that I is the square root of -1, and that's just kind of a definition, what is the square root of 9 plus the square root of -16? Well, we know that the square root of 9 is 3. Then your plus sign, bring that down. Now, here's the thing about the I. When you have a negative under a square root, you have to pull out the I, or the imaginary unit. So just take the square root of 16 like normal. It's 4, but because of that negative, we're told that's an I. So you get 3 plus 4I, which is answer J. All right, number 19. It says the first 5 terms of an arithmetic sequence are 7, 21, 35, 49, and 63. Let t sub n represent the nth term of the sequence. What is the value of t sub 25? All right, when you see nth term of this type of arithmetic sequence, here's your formula. So the formula for the nth term is the nth term, whatever term you're looking for. It's a sub 1, which is the first term, plus n minus 1 times d. And that's just a formula you would want to memorize if you start seeing these questions enough, and they pop up pretty frequently. All right, so the first term is going to be 7. So 7 is right there. Plus n. N is the number of the term you want to find. You want the 25th term, so n is 25. So put a 25 right there. And then d is the difference between the terms. And so if I look at these terms, I've got 7 jumps to 21, 21 jumps to 35, 35 jumps to 49. So if you just take the difference of those, that's going to be 14. So there's 14 space or distance between each term. Then you simply just go put this in the calculator, and when you do, you get answer B. Last one on this section, it says, at a certain time of the day, a flagpole cast a 9-foot long shadow, and a nearby 4-foot tall fence cast a 2.4 long shadow. Given that the flagpole and the fence are both vertical and on level ground, what's the height of the flagpole? So let's sketch this one out. So I have this flagpole, we'll put a flag there, and it says that it's cast a 9.0 shadow. Remember that shadows are on the ground. And then we have over here a 4-foot fence. And this 4-foot fence casts a 2.4 shadow on the ground. The question says, what's the height of the flagpole? This right here is setting up a proportion. So when you set up a proportion, just make sure you put the person that it goes to. So I'm going to say x is to 9. So I'm going to say this tall side to the ground side is equal to this tall side to that ground side. And 4 over 2.4. All right, then we're going to play cross multiply. And so x times 2.4 is 2.4x. And 9 times 4 is 36. Divide by 2.4, and you're going to get h, which is 15. I hope you found this ACT prep helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to check out other ACT prep videos. See you next time.